Well, I think I'd start just with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is certainly at least digital gold. It's going to eat gold. It's got all of the great attributes of gold, and it's got none of the defects of gold. If you could teleport gold from New York to Tokyo in a few minutes, people would like it. It's going to divert capital from risk assets and risk ETFs like SPY, and you can see that these ETFs are doing that. It's going to be incorporated into a lot of funds like the BlackRock Global Opportunities Fund or the Strategic Income Opportunities Fund. And so it's an asset class. As it goes into other funds, it's going to become structural. The halving is going to cut the organic supply of natural sellers in half around April 20th. That means there's only about $32 million a day of natural sellers. And the price of Bitcoin is going to have to adjust up in order to meet that investor demand. So I think that's what's going to happen next to the asset class.
Bitcoin is going to eat gold, emerging as a superior asset. It has all the great attributes and none of the defects of gold. Also, the upcoming Bitcoin halving in April will reduce the crypto's block rewards by 50%, meaning just 450 new Bitcoin hitting the market each day from the current 900. As a result, Bitcoin's price will move up to meet the growing investor demand. This is the latest message out from Michael Saylor. Recently, Saylor spoke on the brewing clash between governments and Bitcoin. He discussed how Bitcoin's decentralized nature challenges the traditional power structures. Moreover, he dived into the concept of natural selection and the market economy, highlighting how Bitcoin's open market rewards innovation and adaptability. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video where Saylor reveals why Bitcoin can never be dominated by one single individual or organization. Also guys, if you want to stay most up to date
with regard to Bitcoin, you have the most elegant piece of code, a very elegant protocol, right? With not that many lines of code. It's like a virus or like a strand of DNA. It's a genetic code for a system, a trust network, a money network, an energy network. It gets released and it spreads to 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, 1 million people, 10 million people, 100 million people, and it metastasizes and it moves through corporations and governments and nonprofits and the like. And how is it distinguished from every other crypto? It's not more complicated, it's simpler. Right? Everybody else looks and says, I have to make it more complicated, and they break it. Right? So why is Bitcoin great? Because it is elegantly profound and decentralized. Why is life great? It's like there's no one tinkering with the genetic code of the mice and trying to actually capture 18 billion mice and inject them with a new upgrade, right? There's no one that's actually, when you start trying to sequester 1 billion people and inject them with your idea, right? It doesn't make things better, right? So centralized planning and centralized tinkering actually undermines the ecosystem. It doesn't help it. So nature is decentralized and elegant, and Bitcoin is decentralized and elegant. And so now we get to the question of government. What's the best government? The least government, decentralized and elegant. Some simple, elegant rules, right? That are decentralized and pushed down to the most local element. A country that has 50 states that all act independently is much more robust, anti-fragile, perhaps just, offers more dignity and more freedom to its citizens than a country with no states and just a single central government. A country that has separated branches of government, has checks and balances with a strong judiciary, a strong executive branch, but also a strong legislative branch, and perhaps even upper and lower houses of the legislative branch, and a system of checks and balances offers more freedom and is more functional. The more centralized the government and the more power that can be acted upon by fiat by an individual or by a small group, right? The more fragile the government is, and so ultimately, it's the key to what? The reason the universe works is no well-meaning genius graduates from college with a PhD and decides to change the speed of constant, right? God doesn't change the speed of light and the gravitational constant. That was changed, every mechanism on Earth would stop working and every building would collapse and everybody would die, right? That's why the universe works. The reason that life works is that no alpha male genius rat gets to change the genetic code of all the other rats, right? It's like, and when you have a new idea, like, oh, I think that I'm going to live by myself on an island spearfishing. If that works and you're able to procreate and prosper, maybe there'll be millions of people like you on that island. But if it turns out you forgot to bring someone to procreate with, or if it turns out you run out of stuff to spearfish with, or you can't catch the fish, you're gonna die. And that entire idea gets pruned out of the genetic tree of life. And I think the same is true with Bitcoin. You know, someone comes up with a better idea for Bitcoin and we just ignore them. You fork off a Bitcoin and you know what happened with the Bitcoin forks, and they all go to zero. And that's basically natural selection, the laws of nature, and the market economy working. With government, when the governments have some natural selection, like some state comes up with a rule, you're not allowed to wear orange and you can't work on Tuesday and Thursday. Everybody gets to leave that state, move to the other state where you can wear orange and work on Tuesday and Thursday. And then people in the first state kind of realize that maybe that wasn't very rational. And so maybe there's a hope for you. But when the person at the top of the government gets to dictate no working on Tuesday and Thursday and no orange, pretty soon it becomes nobody with blue eyes can vote. And then pretty soon it's nobody with blue eyes is allowed to be free. And you just plunge into a dark abyss at that point. It's too much power and too little natural law and market economics. I think it's continuing to decentralize. I think that every single time you have a new participant in the network, they decentralize the network further. And I think that the more participants we have, the less likely it is that someone will corrupt the network. I think that if you have powerful companies and powerful owners in 100 different countries, the network is less likely to be corrupted. Its integrity is enhanced because now you have strong political actors with a vested interest to keep anybody from attacking the network. So I don't really think if fill in the blank, if a country in the Middle East decided that they wanted to buy a lot of Bitcoin, I don't think they're taking over Bitcoin because 99% of the Bitcoin is in someone else's hands and they triple the price of Bitcoin. And so the 99% of the people that hold the rest of Bitcoin just got 3 times as powerful. And so there's no way for someone to join the network and undermine the network. They're strengthening the network as they join it. What they would do is if a big player in the Middle East joined the network and became embedded and had skin in the game, if the US government took an adverse position, you would have another sovereign that would take the opposite position. Mm-hmm. So if you're worried about one country or one company having an influence, then the best thing that could possibly happen is have 10 other companies in 10 other countries, because now you have a network of interdependencies and you have checks and balances throughout. And I think that we've got more and more checks and balances. And as people invest more in the network, they become more conservative and they will resist, enthusiastic proposals to fix Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like, it's very easy. I notice that most enthusiastic proposals to fix Bitcoin come from people that don't have any Bitcoin. Right? And if you actually bet your entire country on Bitcoin, then you wouldn't be so enthusiastic to tinker with the network. If you bet your entire company on Bitcoin, then you wouldn't want to tinker. So ironically, these bigger actors are actually more conservative. They like it because they can trust it, and they can trust it because no one's changing it. If you take certain other crypto networks where they change them every 6 months and they tinker with them, every time you do a hard fork, you could destroy the entire thing.
Right.
So who is in favor of hard forks? It's generally the protocol developers that want a job. They want to do something to help. They're the only ones that can do the hard forks. So they're the ones that promote them. Who doesn't want to do the hard forks? It's everyone that's bet their life, their future. If you're actually planning, if you're buying a lot of Bitcoin to give to your great-great-granddaughter, you're not terribly enthusiastic about a roadmap with 6 hard forks, right? I think that there's no way for any one actor to get control of the network. All you can do is empower the rest of the network by a factor of 100. And owning a lot of Bitcoin doesn't really give you power. I mean, the network,
right.
The network is stabilized by a combination of computer power, electric power, political power, economic power, right? And transactional power. So, Coinbase and Cash App have power, but that's different than the BlackRock power. And that's different than the Marathon or the Riot or all the Bitcoin mining power. And that's different than the power of all the node runners. And that's different than the power of the regulators or the politicians that support it. And so there's a lot of different power in the network, and it's just getting more decentralized. Now it just turns out that instead of the traditional Bitcoin voices from 2020, you still got them, but you've also got voices from Fidelity and BlackRock and other players, and you've got voices from the senators and the Congress people that support them, and you've got voices of the regulator that approved the ETF. That's not fewer voices, that's more voices. And the only reason that Bitcoin was approved as an ETF is the consensus that it's a commodity. And the fundamental distinction of a commodity is it's an asset without an issuer. And that means that it has to be the consensus of everybody in the world. There isn't one single voice that can change the protocol, speak for the protocol, or is even relevant, right? If there isn't anybody, none of these buyers could speak for it. And of course, the thing you have to keep in mind, right, is sometimes people are kind of cynical in the Bitcoin community, and they always assume the worst. But if someone's going to actually buy $1 billion of Bitcoin that didn't buy it before, they're not buying it because they think you can change it.
Right.
They're not buying it because they think they can change it. If I thought I could change Bitcoin, I wouldn't have bought any Bitcoin, right? For ethical reasons, it would be a security. For legal reasons, and then just for technical reasons, if it's weak enough for me to change, why would I trust the money of all my shareholders on the network? So now you've got this interesting logical conundrum. The person that bought the $1 billion of Bitcoin is too stupid to understand why they bought it, and that's why they gave you their money. After 15 years of not wanting to buy it, they all of a sudden, they bought it not knowing why for stupid reasons. Or the person that bought it, looked at it, studied it, and came to a rational conclusion that they would actually invest $1 billion because they thought that they couldn't change it and no one else could change it, right? And it seems pretty obvious that if you find 100 people that are intelligent enough to make $1 billion risk or $1 billion bet, they're the smart money. The smart money is buying Bitcoin because it is the crypto commodity network. It is the decentralized asset without an issuer, right? The dumb money is buying everything else.
That's right. That's right.
So I don't worry about the people joining our network. We're winning the smart ones, and they're going to fight to defend the values of Bitcoin. You want to worry about it, right? Your enemies aren't the people buying Bitcoin because they want a decentralized crypto asset that's without an issuer. your enemies are the people that are buying an inferior asset like gold or real estate or equity or bonds, or they're buying a crypto token network, which is centrally controlled, that is an asset with an issuer. Those are the people that actually have the vested interest in undermining Bitcoin because they're threatened by a superior technical, ethical, economic idea.
So there's Michael Saylor with his views on Bitcoin's government resistance, the market's natural selection, and the dangers of centralized power. He highlights the transformative potential of Bitcoin in challenging traditional systems. Saylor also emphasized Bitcoin's egalitarian nature, continual decentralization, and approval of Bitcoin ETFs as key factors shaping its future. His views show the importance of embracing innovation and decentralization in navigating the complexities of this digital age. In conclusion, Saylor's message resonates as a call to action, urging individuals to recognize the disruptive power of Bitcoin and its potential to reshape the financial world for the better. Before we go, a quick reminder for those who are keen on staying updated in the fast. Anyway guys, hope you all enjoyed today's video and that provided you with some value. I'll see you all on the next one, and as always, all the best.